Hey there YouTube, and let's talk about you being told or forced into playing a meta spec or a meta class. Is it necessary? Yes it is. What? You thought this was going to be a video that would make you feel better about picking what you like? A video praising the fun aspect of the class, pushing aside the performance and general meta status associated with the top specs? Nope. I have to play a meta class, and you might have to do so as well, so let me tell you the story of how I am at a crossroads with my main. First, we will talk about who to invite into your groups and who to ignore when you are doing Mythic Plus dungeons. I don't believe this applies to raiding because there are two main raid leaders when it comes to who you need to invite into your group. There is the guild raid leader looking to progress mythic bosses and needs to cover up some basic holes in the roster, like a specific number of ranged DPS versus melee to handle the mechanics properly, a warlock for gates and hellstones, different classes for the raid buffs, and after that it should be usually the best players they can get their hands on. While the other raid leader is either a heroic or a normal guild raid leader or a pug, and in both of those cases it's good to have some mandatory classes, but you really want good players above all else. I will use our weekly raids as an example, especially last week's Galley Weeks, or 2 weeks ago rather, where it was a breeze to get through and it was not because of meta specs. Oh yeah, we do community raids every Saturday on stream, twitch.tv/marcelianonline, with the EU players since region locked. What are you gonna do? And you can catch the streams here on YouTube as well. Just make sure to leave a follow and a sub and all of that to get notified, because 69% of you watching on this and that, and you are not, but you are the one thing which is not part of the percentage. You know what's up, man. Anyway. Mythic raiding assumes people know what they are doing and are comfortable doing what needs to be done to clear the bosses. When you pug a raid or play a bit more casually, meta doesn't matter anymore. But player skill does. You've heard it before, bring the player, not the class. Well, in 90% of the cases that is very true, which was even more true during our galley kill. So what exactly happened? Outside the general fight going on how you would expect, groups being separated into two sides for the soaks, dodge the beams, kill the ads, soak some more, it was a smooth kill because of a couple of really good players. Now when we do our raids, we got all manner of rats and pumpers, and the DPS meters don't show who is 616 atom level or 650 atom level, so that's not very relevant. What is relevant is me doing the bomb mechanics. Yes, I'm one of the stars of the show, and I want to point this out very clearly for everyone looking to join guilds or have successful raids and dungeons as well, because it applies to Mythic Plus also. Picking up responsibilities will get you into groups and will make people like you more, because that's all that matters in the end. I'm kidding, but I have been doing community raids with people since Battle for Azeroth on our streams almost weekly. I'm also a DPS hoe. I like big numbers, and a lot of the time I play different specs during our raids because I want to gear my alts and learn to play them better, so something most people do on their alts as well. Yet, over the years, I have come to a very painful conclusion, one that would change my mentality as a player forever. I learned this from Preach a long time ago, and I wish I knew what video he said this in, but through all of these years of raiding, the best marker of success was for me to always do the mechanics of every raid boss. This has nothing to do with me personally, but rather to do with me as a member of a raid group. The chances of killing a boss go up exponentially if I suck it up and do the bomb mechanics on Gallywix, or the web thread mechanic on Silken Court for last season. Yeah, I think I did that mechanic on almost all of the raids, on top of always being a soak popper on Ansarek. Every single raid. That was developed from seeing these mechanics being ignored and us wiping while I was focusing on getting that fat bars. I'm not throwing shade on anybody here. Every player is different, but if I had a choice, I would pick the person willing to play the fight properly rather than doing big fat dig deeps on a meta Chad class. And that person today is this guy right here. A lonely red paladin that was doing pretty well on the meters until the bombs popped out, and he legit did 2 bombs back to back while the rest of the raid just unloaded their glorious damage on the boss. all that damage would mean jack shit if people like this guy wouldn't exist. Legit players that say, oh shit, let me just help out and clear the mechanic despite me not playing my class to get better at it, improving my performance, or getting good parses. Which, ironically enough, after writing the script for this video, happened again last week with me when I went out to do the bomb on the platform where I need to destroy one of the side generators and went back to the boss just to see nobody was doing any bombs whatsoever. So I had to pick up, I think, about 2 more bombs and then just drop them off myself. So fuck me. This is what I mean when I say you want the player, not the class. And being this type of player will make you a much more valuable addition to your team, whether it is a pug raid or a guild raid, and your raid leader will love you. And this goes double for dungeons as well. People who are fine interrupting and crowd controlling during their DPS window are the real heroes here. People who do the bees in Cinderbrew when everyone wants to blast the boss need a pat on the shoulder and a heartfelt thank you, friends. You are the reason we are killing this boss. But what happens when that is not enough? Because it will become insufficient at one point. That started happening to me as I was pushing into 13s and 14s as a Windwalker Monk and noticed my spec was steadily falling further and further behind the likes of Unholy DK and Fire Mages. Listen, I never had a chance against them, could only outperform the mediocre ones, but even then it felt like I was contributing enough to matter. But the higher I push, the less valuable I feel as a Windwalker. So I always try to be the guy that kicks all of the important casts, stuns and soothes the right targets, use the Ring of Peace and taunt to take some of the heat off the tank. But when more and more people start doing that and do 20 to 30 more DPS, it becomes apparent my value as a Windwalker is dropping. This is not a video about bitching, and this is not something new that I just discovered. This is something that always happens in video games and real life when you realize you just have the suboptimal choice in spec, which was fine when you wanted to just enjoy yourself but becomes a liability later on. Also, by the way, I'm not saying I've reached the pinnacle of monk performance. There's still stuff to learn, but putting side by side, Windwalker will continue to fall behind the other specs due to tuning, due to general design, to the soft cap of 5 targets relative to what other specs can achieve, and so on. That's not important. What is important is that when we were doing 11s and 12s, I felt like I could compensate for mine and my party's fuck-ups by locking in and destroying the next pack or stealing a PI from a DPS to absolutely melt a boss, since Windwalker has and still has one of the best single target profiles in the game. It becomes less so, and it's even worse with Brewmaster. There have been nights where we really needed a tank that wouldn't die because he jumped into 3 packs without a defensive. Yeah, that happens in 12s as well, by the way. And I decided to pick up the mantle of Brewmaster. And let me tell you, I have felt I was way in over my head only twice before in the last few expansions, but this time, after rigorous research and practice, I just could not keep up with the damage I was taking. Brewmasters are clearing 16s at the moment, very few of them, and those are the best Brewmasters in the world, most likely. A few days ago, we were trying out a Cinderbrew run, my friends and I, and we thought it would be a good exercise for me to practice tanking since we had Brazilian keys. Now, the level of focus I had, the number of repeat pulls with constantly improving every global, every defensive, every expel harm, in between using blackout combo on Keg Smash to increase the numbers of purifying brews I could dish out since my stagger was never red, absolutely floored me. It was amazing, loved every second of it. I might also have hemorrhoids, I think. But the more I practiced, the more I realized all I was doing is trying to catch up to what the other tanks are doing while also struggling to keep up with my aggro. My enhancement shaman friend was almost lunging at my throat through the monitor because of how much I was asking him to hold his damage back while still taking aggro from me regardless. Even watching tanks like Equinox, one if not the world's best brewmasters out there, do the same pull, granted took his levels higher, and saw his HP bar yo-yoing more than a bloody case, was a little bit demoralizing. We already timed the 12 Cinderbrew with me as a Windwalker, and we were in the process of getting it down on a 13, so we knew the dungeon, but with me as a tank, my healer needed to pain suppress me almost every pack, meaning one less defensive for our squishy shaman and evoker, being forced to super optimize every global for max brew uptime made me less active on kicks, stuns, tiger lust, dispels, and other stuff, which in the end of the day comes down to practice and comfort in playing the said spec. Same spec? Said spec? I'm just exhausted. The conclusion? I was actively making the run harder by opting to play Brewmaster rather than us getting a different tank. Every pack and mechanic was almost twice as hard for my party just because they had to gimp their own play to accommodate my tank choice. It didn't feel fun as a tank to know I was this weak compared to every other tank I tried so far, to the point where I had to admit to myself one crucial fact. Because I wanted to play this spec, I was making everything harder for my party. So in the discussion of meta, at what point does it become a selfish thing to play what you want when you know your friends could have cleared better with you playing something else or not playing at all? It's a shit feeling to have, to be fair. No matter how much balance Blizzard does, it will always inevitably happen. If it's not on a 12, it could happen on a 14 or a 16. Just wish it didn't happen so soon. So right now, I'm at an impasse. My Windwalker can still push, of course, probably at least 3 more key levels before I either realize I need a few more months of practice or choose a different spec to push with. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is when you probably want to consider playing meta, since we made so many videos about just playing what's fun. At the same time, to all of you who are not inviting any spec into +8 or +10 because it is a meta, you have to relax. It does become more important later on, but stop using the meta people engage with on 16s and higher to apply it to your tiny key, because if I come on my unholy in your key and I see you not interrupting or positioning the pack properly, I will kick you from the group myself. What do you think? Should I change from Monk? Do I wait for buffs? Am I just too bad to play the class? And also, why is Brewmaster so bad compared to the rest? We made a video on it last week, talking about the fact that Brewmasters might not be as bad as I mentioned here, but rather the hardest tank to play in the game at the moment.